Now I'm going to use my 10-inch broad knife, and that's going to cover this entire area. And you know, it's a shame that this ceiling is so close to the patch color. It's hard to see it on the video, but sorry about that. Now, before I use the 10-inch broad knife, I want to check this and make sure it's nice and smooth on there. Okay? I don't want any little bits of hard sheetrock mud on there, because just a little bit on there is going to throw lines in my mud. I don't want that. Okay, so I'm just going to load it on the end of my knife. I'm going to wipe off the edges. I'm going to put that on there. I'm going to skim it on. The key with this is you just don't want to put too much on. You get this too thick, and you're going to create air bubbles. And you'll see, if you start putting the mud on too thick, air bubbles will start popping up. That means you got it on too thick. You might have to put it on thick because maybe your last coat, you didn't get it as smooth as you thought. You know? If that happens, you might have to go over this another time after this, which would be called a tight skim. Okay, so I'm wiping off my edges on both sides so that I make sure when I pull it across, it's nice and smooth. Okay? I see one little spot, so I'm just going to put it on again. Wipe that. Now there's no real trick on putting this on because we're only filling this up and a little bit on both sides, so it's actually a pretty easy patch to do. Some of my other patches I might have to taper it out a little bit more so than here, you know. Just grab it on my end, wipe off the edges so it doesn't fall down on my face, wipe that off. A light pass in the middle. That's looking nice. Okay. Now I promised you I'd show you another way to do this too. And here I've got an 11-inch trowel. I'm going to try doing that here. I got to dig it out my pan a little bit differently. I'm just going to put a little bit up there in a couple spots. You know, now I can grab it. Twist this around in my hand. Now it's on there where I need it, and I can kind of add it where I want and do it that way. I like using this trowel. I usually use the trowel like for wall patches and stuff. Over the head, kind of hard, you know. But you might get used to using the trowel more so than the other. It's just trial and error. Try it and see. You might like it better. Kind of getting it on, but I want to take it off going this direction, same way as before, and that's another way you can do it. Since I'm here in the corner, I'm just going to do it with my other knife. I want to get it good on the outside of this patch, just a hair. I want to extend the mud over a little bit. Having a hard time doing that with the trowel because I'm getting close up to this cabinet. You know, I would normally just do this patch with this trowel here, the broad knife, 10-inch broad knife. Just extending the patch out just a little bit further. Okay? Looking at that. Another reason for my light, because I want to add some over there. I can. Wipe off this edge over there. And if you have some slight lines in there, you could leave them and then sand those out. But I try to get it as smooth as I can on this go. You know? And if anything, if I got a question about anything, I'll keep it thicker just slightly, not a whole lot, because I don't want those bubbles. You know, like I said. Now the patch stopped about here. I'm just extending it out a little bit with some mud. You know, so it's gonna blend in. Okay. I'm liking it. Now we're going to let that dry. And this coat here is going to not take as long to dry because it's just a skim coat. It's not as thick of a coat as the first coat that I put on yesterday of the all-purpose joint compound. Okay, so you see all the different steps I had to do? First had to put the tape on. Then I put one coat of Quickset over the tape. Then I put a second coat of Quickset over that to build it up a little bit and make the first coat smoother. I then install the first coat of all-purpose joint compound. Let that dry all the way, 100%. Lightly sanded that and then put on a skim coat. I've got to let that dry now. Then I'll sand that. Then I'll take a quick look at it under the light again, and I'll make a determination. Do I see any other imperfections on there that I feel that I might need to put a little bit more on, but not necessarily an entire coat? Or maybe I do put an entire coat back over. That would be called a tight skim. That would just be covering up any imperfections. Now if you were going to do a spray texture, and if the rest of your ceiling was spray texture and you were patching this in, you may not have to get it as smooth. You know, you still want to get it smooth, but any slight imperfection is going to be taken up after you spray texture it or whatever. Okay, but because this wall, this ceiling is a smooth wall finish, I want to get this nice and smooth. I don't want any imperfections in here before I get ready to paint. Okay? So far so good.